Veterans are the lifeblood of American freedom, serving in some of the harshest situations to secure that freedom across the globe. This is the Lounge with Legends show, celebrating their transformation from battlefield to business. The Lounge with Legends show with Marty the Moac Martinez and James A. Phelps, a.k.a. Spartan 6.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Hello. Welcome to another installment of Lounge with Legends. This is episode 9, right, James?
Already. You can't believe it's already 9.
Wow. We've got Stephen Eugene Kuhn on today with the Humble Alpha. But before we get to that, James, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, Marty, in my neck of the woods, actually, I think I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, but I just found out my oldest daughter has a boyfriend.
Oh, no.
That is a big, huge step for me to I don't know if any advice that maybe Stephen can give. I don't know, but maybe you, Marty, but I need some help. I need some therapy.
I think you just invite me down whenever that first date is, and we'll start cleaning weapons on the table.
That's actually a great idea. I'll take you up on that offer. It's good to have a good ranger buddy.
I'm telling you, it's a 5-hour drive, but I'll do it.
Airborne.
You got to set conditions. So we had a big weekend with It always impresses me every time I look over D-Day and the events that happened and just look at all the pictures. And I was lucky. I was fortunate enough that I was able to parachute into St. Mary Glees when I was out at Ranger Training Brigade. I was the Ranger S4. And so I got to orchestrate this entire thing, but going in, the parachuting was fun and being in France was cool, but really listening to the stories from not only the World War II vets, which I thought was going to be great, sitting down and actually talking to those Army Rangers, but talking to the French people that were alive and what it meant to them. I mean, that's just, we talk about our sacrifices and what we do, but what they did, and those guys are truly legends. And so it's always coming out of the D-Day events and everything that happened there, and going right into what we got next week, got Flag Day and Army Birthday, right?
Yes, sir. So, I just like the fact that you finally are admitting that you were there at World War II and your age. So I'm just happy that you're finally admitting how old you are, Marty. That's all I'm excited about.
Ranger that. Yeah, nice, touche. All right, well, who's our featured veteran company this week? He's jacking it all up.
Am I supposed to say it? I thought you were supposed to say it.
We've got Bear Performance Nutrition with Nick Bear. James is jacking up all the screens. That's why he doesn't not allowed to play with the switchboard.
Why I did an announcement that we need a social media company, for our future moves.
That's right. Yeah, we are looking for not social media, but a media production company, pictures and stuff like that. So we are looking. Lounge with Legends is grabbing a lot of traction, a lot of views, as well as our other company, Joint Task Force 214. But back to BPN, Bear Performance Nutrition. Nick Bear got out as an Army captain and just created this awesome journey of how he transitioned out of the military and then what he's doing outside with his supplement company. Check out his book, 25 Hours in a Day by Nick Bear. Great book. Their motto is go one more. And so it's an awesome time.
I actually got this book over the weekend and read it in one sitting. So it's a good book. It actually put me in the right mindset, put me back at the Derby Queen at Phase 1 in Ranger School.
Yes. Yeah, it's a great book. It's one of those books that you can get lost in it, and it's really good. Kind of reminds me of another book, Unleash Your Humble Alpha. Yeah.
How come you got a hard copy?
I was going to say, oh, you hear that? Oh, my goodness. And you know what I love about it? Bam.
All right, we got a problem here.
That's fine. I'll sign yours when I'm down there cleaning weapons.
Lane and Steven, I need to get this fixed.
Hey, one of the things I love about this book, and I'm not going to go through the entire thing, or I'm not going to steal Steven and Lane's thunder because we have Lane coming on next month, but I love how it's broken down, especially because the whole purpose of this show is to talk about not necessarily just the transition out of the Army, because anybody can transition. That's like the conveyor belt. But how do you transform? How do you progress? How do you evolve? How do you grow? You talk about that out of the military, get this book. I'm telling you, this is amazing. Chapter 1, or Section 1, sorry, Activate. We are what we decide. It's automatically talking about your mindset, getting in there. Section 2, Finding Your Purpose. Section 3, he goes through the ecosystem. He goes through momentum. It's an amazing book, and it's going to speak to you in different ways. This is the book I was saying I bought for my mom. She loves it. I bought her 2 copies, one for her and then one to donate to her local library there in Rockledge, Florida. And so that's how much I love the book. And it's not just because mine's signed and James isn't. But without further ado, let's bring on our legend. Are you ready for this?
Maybe I can ask him to sign it now.
Hope not.
In person, we'll do it, James. We'll do it in person for sure.
All right. Steven, welcome to the lounge. And thanks.
It's a great honor. Thank you so much for having me, gentlemen.
Yeah, this is great, man. I mean, you've done a lot, and I know a lot of people have heard your story in Clubhouse, and you know how you were a bodyguard, and you work with Andrea Bocelli, and you work with all these different things. But we want to take it all the way back. I want to take it back to when Stephen Eugene Kuhn decided, I'm going to go in the Army. And so if we go back there, and we're going to get all the way up to Humble Alpha and the Have mission, but let's start off with, what was that calling to serve? Was it one of those the judge said, go to war, go to jail, or what was it?
You nailed it. No, it's so I always wanted to join the military. We have, we're sons of the American Revolution. So, my great grandfather fought in the American Revolution, Michael Kuhn, and all the way through, they fought in every single war since there was a war in America. So that was sort of like tradition, but it wasn't really my driver. My true driver, if I'm honest, I'd like to say I was a patriot and all this kind of stuff, which I was, but the true driver was to get the heck out of there. Like I had to get out of there. I knew so I was sort of a doofus in high school, right? Or actually my whole childhood. And I was sort of pudgy, and I tried football, baseball, wrestling, basketball, and I was like horrible at all of them. I was the guy who lost every game for everybody. Like if the coach said, don't do this, it's exactly what I did, and I ruined it. So I sort of hated myself, and everyone was sort of like, I had very few friends, and I was like the class clown, because what do you do when you're insecure? You get loud. Mm-hmm. Right. So, I was insecure, and I didn't like myself. And I knew at that age, like, if I stay here, what the heck's going to become of me? I need to get out and be the person I know I can be. And I thought that at the age of 19, which blows my mind when I think about it now, because there's not many people that think like that even now at my age, at 54. And so, yeah, I was like, I'm out of here. I got to go. And first I went for, and this is coming back to the judge thing. I was an airborne 64 clutch, or 88 mic, they call it now, airborne truck driver. Okay. And when I swore into the MEP station, went to the, they took me to the airport, and I actually walked over because it was at the airport, and they pulled me off the plane and said, like, you have open underage drinking tickets. You can't leave until you pay those tickets. And so I missed my slot for the airborne 64 Charlie. So I ended up on tanks.
Nice.
And they're like, you're now a tanker. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Long as it's a grunt thing, I'm going to do it. Right.
Right.
Because I wanted to crush myself. Like I wanted to crush everything about me that was negative and just be a new person. And I swear to you, I got to boot camp. It was a long weekend. It was Thursday night. I had a mullet. It was the 80s, right? So it was like a bouffant mullet, like a what do you call it? Danny Terrio disco, right?
Yeah.
And so I couldn't get my hair cut until Monday. So I was in the reception station for 4 days with this haircut, and you can imagine the shit that I got, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as that razor touched my head and started shaving my hair off, I saw the old me just falling away. Like I visually saw it myself falling away and going like, I can be whatever I want to be. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Of course, it didn't happen right away. All right, run 2K. What? Are you kidding me? So yeah, it took some time. Boot camp really brought it out of me. I went in weighing 240 pounds, came out 187.
Wow.
Just beat the crap out of me, but I loved it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's quite the journey, because especially from those of y'all that know Stephen and follow him and the Daily Purge and where he's at, and you see he's just a beast right now. And so to imagine this 19-year-old version and where you are now, that kind of goes in line with what we're talking about is there's a transition, but really the focus is on the transformation, the growth, the evolution. And as you do that, you realize in your life, there's chapters and that allow you to close it and then evolve and progress to the next level. And I think that's kind of what you're saying.
That's endless. It's endless. I had a mentor, Charles Oikster. He was when he died, he was 94, I think, and he was doing the long jump in Oslo at the World Masters. He started bodybuilding when he was 83, and he used to train when I was living in Zurich. Yeah, when I was living in Zurich, he trained with me on the gym. And this guy at the time, he was maybe 90 or 91. And I was like, how do you do it? He's wearing like spandex shorts and a tight shirt, and he's flexing and everything. And I'm like, how do you do it? And he goes, look, 2 things. Always be in competition with yourself and set long-term goals, and you'll never die. I was like, oh, okay, good. And, if it wasn't for the pneumonia, because he was playing hardcore, he was out doing long jump. It was raining, it was cold, and he got pneumonia. So unfortunately, that's, his I guess his pride of not wanting to quit sort of got him in the end. But what a fabulous guy. And it's true. So Marty, you have to always evolve, be open to learning, always a teacher, always a student, right? Even when you're teaching, you're learning. And that evolution allows you to build upon the foundation that you have articulated in the past through the military, through writing a book, through whatever it is that you do. Mm-hmm. But the point is, you have to leave something behind. Otherwise, there's no foundation. Right. People forget that. I got to take everything with me. And if you take everything with you, the future is going to look like the past. So what's the point? Right? So you got to build that foundation, and meaning you have to leave some things behind. You can remember them, you can think of them, but how do you articulate your life up until this point? How do you share those lessons you have up until this point? And the way that we did it, Lane and I, is, well, this is my 3rd book, but the way we did it in this point was we wrote that book. And that book is literally the articulate foundation of our life from which we can now not only build, but skyrocket. And we are skyrocketing. So we're very fortunate.
Yeah. So you went through boot camp, you did that. And then you went over you were stationed in Germany. And that's where
I went straight to Germany. And I stayed there the whole time.
You went to the Gulf out of there.
Yeah. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Lane just wrote me, are you on the show? I'm like, yeah, live. So I went from boot camp, Fort Knox, Kentucky, went home for 20 days. And I was literally in my camos and spit shined jump boots. Yeah, we were tankers. We were jump boots. The whole time I was home, the whole 20 days, I'd get up, make my bed. I was so into that life. I never wanted to go back. And I was like, I don't care if I'm on vacation. I'm wearing my BDUs every day. I was that dork that ran around the mall with the BDUs on. Yeah, that was me.
That was before the Applebee's discounts.
What's that?
Yeah, that was before the Applebee's discount.
Exactly.
Before Applebee's, actually.
Yeah. So and then I went to Germany. I went to Gelnhausen, Germany, which was the 3rd Armored Division. And I was there in the 333 Armor. It got redesignated to 8th Cavalry. and we were selected to take part in the Canadian Army Trophy, which is a biannual NATO tank gunnery, of which the Americans never won except for one time, and that was until today. They've only won one time, and I was one of the guys who won, one of the 16 guys who won that trophy. So it's quite big deal. As a PFC, you know, E3, the lowest ranking guy on the entire team of 60 people. I was one of the 16 guys to win this trophy, and that put us on Good Morning America. That put us on, I don't know, the Today Show, and we got TDY and went all over the world, and you know, told our story and stuff. And as a PFC, right, you're like, wow, this is like crazy. Met every general there was, every secretary there was. It was pretty amazing.
Oh, that's huge.
Wow.
And what did you notice now? I mean, you probably didn't notice it then, but now reflecting back, what are those things that begin to unlock?
Yeah.
As you step into your greatness, you often talk about stepping into your greatness, unlocking your potential. It started here. It sounds like it started here as a foundation. What are like the top three that you said, you know what, these are the ones that are my bedrock that I learned here?
Okay. First one was in boot camp. We were at the obstacle course. We just ran, I don't know if you know Fort Knox, and we ran agony, misery, and heartbreak. And then we ran back agony, misery, and heartbreak, actually walked back to the obstacle course. So it's like 20 clicks, right? 20K. And went to the obstacle course, and I'd never been to an obstacle course. So I didn't know what the heck, and I wasn't very strong. I played football, but like I said, I wasn't very good. And I got to the wall that's leaning at you like this, and there's no rope. And it's like 2.5 meters high, and I couldn't get over it. I'm like, how are you supposed to do this? There's no rope. You can't climb on it because it's leaning towards you. And drill sergeant's yelling at me and stuff, and he finally just threw me down into the dirt and the mud, put his foot in the back of my neck, and was just cussing me out. And I snapped. I jumped straight up over that wall, literally without even touching it. I probably touched it, but it felt like I landed on the other side, and it was like angels, like, oh, you know, and I was so conscious of that feeling, like, what that was. And my whole life up to that point flashed between my eyes. Every football game I screwed up, every wrestling match where I messed up, every basketball game where I tackled the guy instead of blocking him, you know, that kind of stuff. It flashed in my head like, that was just me. That was me the whole time. It was my head the whole freaking time. And from that point on, I said, I can crush whatever I want to crush. And I crushed the obstacle course, and I crushed the runs. I would be literally running at the front of the formation as the slowest guy, vomiting on myself. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not falling out. I'm not falling out. I don't care.
Right.
And so that was so transformational for me, Marty. I got to tell you, that carried me a long way. So when I got out of the Army, I had a complete crash, because where what do I do with all that power and energy and strength and you know, will to win? Yeah. Will to win what? At my job where I'm a security guard? Give me a break. Right. You know, where's the bigger mission? Okay. And so, yeah, it's that was the one transformational one. The other one was in Iraq. There he is. There's Lane. The other one was in Iraq. I think I told you this story before. You read it in the book probably, about the little girl that came up to the checkpoint. She was burned from head to toe. And I brought her to the medics, and she came back out, and I just felt this crushing will to help her. And all I could do was give her a piece of candy, because there I was, this big, daunting 6'4" helmet wearing, flakjack wearing, M16, 45 caliber carrying, scary dude. I got in my knee and gave her a butterscotch candy. And there was a girl that was burned from head to toe. We had to send her back out into the desert. And she smiled at that piece of candy. Like, that changed my life. You know, what kind of an impact do you have on people? Can you choose that impact? There I was in a war zone, and anyone who thinks of a war zone thinks negative, right? They think, oh, fighting, and you know. And there I was in a war zone with a little girl, showing her, wanting to show her. My intention was to show her there's empathy out there, that there's love out there, that there's still hope out there for her. I mean, it was really difficult to go back in and do what I did after that moment. Right. Really, really difficult. Even though you push it back and you make it disappear, because that's what we do, or people die. We know that. So it didn't affect my operational ability, but it sure as heck messed up my head, because I was no longer aligned with what I was doing. And that made me change. And I said, you know what? That kind of an impact, that smile in the face of death, that's the kind of impact I want to have for the rest of my life.
Yeah. That's huge. Go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, I mean, that's the, you know, that's what this is about. You know, Marty and I, we separated, our journey separated back when I left active duty. And, you know, you always talk about, the difference you can make in somebody else's life in a positive way. And that's what I like about you and Lane, because, I've reached out. Marty and I are both on the Warrior Council with you all, and that's an amazing experience. But you all reach out and actually care about helping other veterans. And that's what it's always about. You talk about, fill your cup, and then your cup, once it's overflowing, then you can share with others. And that's what you guys are doing. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud to know you as a friend.
Well, I'm proud that you're vulnerable enough to say that. I think it's fantastic. There's a lot in the, in the veteran space. There's a lot of machoism from every space. And I think that's what you and Marty and myself and Lane and a few others bring to the table. And that makes us very approachable, right? That makes us very approachable for those who otherwise maybe wouldn't reach out. And I got to tell you, we have a part in the book called Investing in Relational Capital. Right. And that's elevating others. And it's a constant thing. I mean, when you invest in Bitcoin, you want to do it every day or every week. Right. Well, you got to invest every single day. And that creates an endless return, not like financial capital, but relational capital has an endless return. And it sounds so logical. It sounds so formish, if you will. But it's actually part of the operating system of the Humble Alpha. If you look at yourself as what's your operating system? Our operating system is the core principles of the Humble Alpha, right? We operate according to that. Right. And all those things on the outside, the things that we do differently, the things that we absorb, they're applications that we use to adapt to our operating system. And we choose how we implement those. And we choose to invest. And it's a joy. Like if I'm before podcasts, I always book someone that I can help, because it puts my energy level way up. And when I get on the podcast, it's like, boom. People are like, well, your energy's great. Well, and that's because I don't think I get more joy, even with my wife, I get more joy of me pleasing her than her pleasing me. I think a lot of guys are like that. I mean, making her happy. I didn't mean pleasing, but you know what I mean. That too, I guess. But anyway, okay, going down the wrong path here. Okay.
Not so humble there, Stephen. Not so humble.
What's up, Jose? Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, Jose, how you doing, brother?
Military motivation, absolutely.
There we go.
I think to that point there, you're talking about the little girl. And one of my longest deployments, we were gone November of 2007 to April of 2009, and in Iraq. And so that was like the height of the war. We were fighting our way in and out of base, it seemed like, and we were having these skirmishes everywhere. And then towards the end, it's when we had started really the counterinsurgency operation. So somewhere around the middle, I remember somebody had sent a care package of kites. I'm like, what am I going to do with kites? And so I took them out, and I was teaching kids how to fly a kite. These little Iraqi children, I'm teaching them how to fly a kite. And I think moments like that actually brought a calm to me.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sitting there, with I didn't have my helmet on, to be honest, but I did have my vest on, and I'm sitting there teaching them how to fly a kite. And it just brings a moment of calm. But what it also did in the little village was, hey man, these guys are human. They're like us. I wasn't
build trust too.
Yeah,
build trust.
Trust. And so we can have all that, and it teaches you more about humanity and humility. And again, that's when I really started when we were deployed, talking about we're all children of Ibrahim. We all grew from this, if you believe, and we can focus, instead of our differences, focuses on our common denominator.
Yep. Commonalities for sure.
Elevate together. And this is, where you didn't know who you could trust. But again, that's kind of what that has taught me, is focus on what makes us similar, and let's build upon that. And that's something I've taken outside.
And what you can impact.
Yeah.
How many people do you know that focus on things they can't change? How many people do you know that get upset and are just upset all the time about things they can't change? You want to implement change? You got to implement change with a direct line of impact, and that means in your world first. It's when someone says, "Man, we gotta stop global warming and whatever." And it's like, do you recycle? Do you turn the water off when you brush your teeth?
Right.
Well, no. Well, then stop talking to me about it and make a change in your life first. Make an impact and have that radiant value, that ripple effect that goes out, that influences others. Real change comes from within, just like anything else.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I mean, it goes in line with, deeds, not words. Just don't talk about it. This one thing that we talk about all the time together is, hey, stop telling me what you're going to do and go do it. Start it. Go let's make it. And the
Dude, you
action.
sound like a
That's
company
what-
commander when you say that shit. You sound like a company
Yeah,
commander. Exactly
I
like
had a flashback to my Spartan 6 days. That's why I like this, though. I mean, I know we're going to talk about this in the second half, but this is what that book did for me. I was lost for many, many years, and I told Lane about this. We had real deep conversations about my transition from active duty to reserve to guard to GS-11 to retired, and it's just my whole life has been about identity, and I've always put a focus on a title. Hey, this is the title, and then James would come second. On page 3, you learn in this book, and that's why I like it. I like to highlight stuff, so I highlight. This thing is like a workbook to me, So anyway,
well, you're not alone. Put it that way. I'd say 99% of the people we talk to, when you ask them who they are, they say, "I'm Lieutenant Colonel, I'm General, I'm the CEO, I'm this, I own this company." No, that's what you do, my friend. Who are you really? And they're like, "What do you mean?" Like, it's never even crossed their minds. And right. it's of course, that's how society, well, especially now with identity politics, But once you realize the secret of your true power lies in knowing and owning that identity, holy cow, your world changes. Right. It literally just like the whole world opens up and you're like, where do I start, man? There's so much to do. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's amazing.
And that's what the book was for me, was a light switch. It just turned on. I was on page 3 and I was like, oh God. Yeah. It was weird because I was like in this dark place and all of a sudden the light just flipped on. It was like just a little sentence. And I was like, wow. And, awesome, from there, trying to get in line now and, with you guys' help and guidance, it's been going well.
Imperfect action, you know the deal. Day for day, create as you go. Imperfect action, setting that intention, amplifying your identity into that presence, right, through your purpose. I love it, man. I love it. You're on a good path, brother. I love it.
And I think part of what we struggle with once we get out is we've identified ourselves with these titles, but then also with our community. So once you transition out of the military, you're stripped of a lot of things. And I think one of the things that we found as entrepreneurs, because everyone here on this call is an entrepreneur, and we're all part of Stephen and Lane's tribe, the Vetrepreneur Tribe. You've got over 14,500 people in there last time I checked. I've been counting individually. It was a lot to count. But I
thought it was 16.
I'm sure you delegated that test.
But one of the things that why does that resonate is because we look for that sense of belonging. And so there's an image that you see a lot in the Vetrepreneur Tribe. People post on their pages. It's a picture from MIC-DC, the last one we were all together, and it's all of us together as a family, because that's what it is to me. It's a family, it's a tribe, and we're there. And it's now you've got that community, and you can start to say, okay, now I've got my community back. Now I can focus on my identity and moving forward and everything else, because you're getting just a little bit of it back. And oh, by the way, I don't care how long you've been out of the military, you really just can't shake that part of who you are. And you can still tell the same joke, not the same jokes, but you can joke around with people totally different. Yeah, some of the jokes, let's not talk about.
Yeah, maybe not. No, but it's community. Community is culture. And you, of course, I don't hang out with veterans because there aren't actually there's one here. We do hang out, the two of us, but he was Air Force, I was Army, big difference. Anyway. So, whole different experience, like completely. And he was new era, I was old era. I went in 86, so it was a little bit earlier than him. But that community creates a culture, and it's undeniably recognizable. So when you go somewhere, you're literally like new, and you're looking for it. Like, okay, where can I attach to, right? Where can I find my allies, kind of thing. You want that commonality with someone that you can immediately hook up with and sort of have that connection with. But that can be detrimental, as you know. You can't walk around the rest of your life with disgruntled veteran on your chest and, be complaining about whatever. We dictate our own reality. It's as simple as that. And I know it's easy to say, but thoughts aren't real. When we think about something, it's usually thinking about the thoughts, and it's not actually thoughts about what happened. So like you drive yourself crazy. I know I used to do it all the time. What if this happens? And this, oh my God, then that'll happen. And the next thing you know, the world's ending and you're still sitting there eating breakfast. So when you realize things, basically it's about being conscious. Where's my head right now? Am I listening to it? Should I listen to it? Or what do I want to do? Do I want to listen or do I want to act and do it now? We'll deal with the head once we get moving at imperfect action. And it all sounds sort of hokey or sounds like, Tony Robbins stuff, but I assure you, it's not. This is real. I'm not saying Tony's not real, but I'm saying this is all, oops, sorry, T. This is all applied knowledge from Lane and I. Everything we talk about, this is how we live our lives, how I live my life. This is how we've gotten to where we've gotten, wherever that is. It's all relative anyway. But I can just tell you, I was just in a group right before this, 2 hours before this, and there were 70 people that are interested in working with Lane and I, 70. And I told them straight out, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. And they're freaking out because they're not sure if they want to go that far. You're going to find out who you are. You're going to find out what your real purpose is. And that might mean you have to change everything. Doesn't mean you have to. Doesn't mean you have to. It might mean that you might contemplate doing everything. If you realize you're in the wrong job with the wrong purpose, or you're in the wrong relationship, or. I mean, we've actually had a client that said, I'm divorcing. You don't have to work with us.
That wasn't Marty or I, by the way, if you're listening.
No.
Now you're forcing some navel gazing. And when you hear navel gazing, people are like, oh gosh, no. Yeah. But it's not bad to look within and then ask questions. And so with that, what I want to do is I want to cut to commercial. I want to show your video about the Humble Alpha, and then when we come back from commercial break, let's talk about the Humble Alpha and then the latest, your Have mission.
Amen.
Perfect book for a veteran, especially if they've been struggling with transition or trying to find their place or they haven't found that stride.
My name is Mike Irwin. I'm the founder and the executive director for Team Red, White, and Blue. We're a nonprofit organization on a mission to enrich veterans' lives by forging America's leading veteran health and wellness community. By far, what I'm most excited about in this partnership with BPN and Team RDBB is that both organizations are still just getting started. And so together, through our partnership, as both organizations continue to still grow, we are really excited about reaching many more veterans than we currently have thus far.
There it is.
Bam.
I always like it when you put me on the big screen. I get
there we go.
To shine.
That didn't last long.
Ringo does it to me all the time.
That's because he always says, well, we're live. That's going to be my new thing. So that's my new
tone.
But
so
awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot of people saw your Humble Alpha commercial before, but I like it. I like the fact that it I can watch that and I can get a feeling for what it's about. But there's probably a lot of people that haven't picked up this awesome book. Yeah. So can we talk about, you've got out of the military, you've had a whole wonderful life, but what caused you and Lane to come together and write this book? Because this isn't something you just decide on a plane. No. I'm going to write this book.
No,
there's a lot of that, as we were talking about that navel gazing.
Right. Let's talk about that navel gazing real quick. I don't really take into account what people think, but I think it's important to address this right now, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are in a situation, maybe in a dark situation, and they're like, oh, some more of this woo-woo talk shit, right? Like we're not talking about that. I can tell you this. The experience that I have, the experience that Lane has, I could go through the list of people that I've worked with and things that I've done, 10 countries, more than 10 industries, politics, whatever. Name names, drop names, all that stuff. But that's not going to, that'll make it even worse. But I can tell you this, it's all applied knowledge. It all works, and it's how we operate every single day. So it's not a system that you implement. It's an operating system that you install, right? And you can install in what's already in you. Why? Because you've already got it in you. We're just going to unlock those little bridges here and there. We're going to connect those together, and you're going to be rocking and rolling. So you don't have to change who you are at all, right? It's about transforming, downloading and transforming, upgrading, whatever it is you want to call it, elevating. So that we can talk about that. So how Lane and I came together, Well, he came. We met. I was in the tribe doing lives at the time. It wasn't my tribe yet, or our tribe yet. So I was doing lives, and he just saw me and connected. And then he was like, "Hey, we would think about going to Peru," because I talked about plant medicine in one of the videos. Mm-hmm. And I've been working with ayahuasca in San Pedro, or ayahuasca for 16 years, San Pedro for 6, I think. And he was like, "Wow, I'm interested. You know where I can go in Peru?" I said, "Actually, yes, I do know a place, because that's where I always go." And so I hooked it up, and I ended up joining them down there. So we both went down together. We hooked up, and it was just like we hit it off like brothers. He brought his wife with him, and it was fantastic. But it took a year between that meeting and the next the next journey to actually come up with the Humble Alpha. So that year was getting to know each other. What are we going to do? We tried a bunch of stuff that everybody else told us to do instead of doing our own thing. Like, hey, you got to use funnels. You got to use this. You got to use that. You got to do this. All the technology out there, you have to use every single piece or you're not going to be successful, all that kind of stuff. Well, finally, after a year of sort of goofing off, and, I'm a turnaround consultant and advisor. So I still do that anyway. We're like, we got to, this has got to work. But what we saw was that our stories are very similar as far as our mindset goes and the way that we handle things. And then we started looking at our life. And when we started, we actually wanted to write a book on HIT, Honesty, Integrity, and Transparency, which is a core operating system that I operate by for years, that I've been teaching for 15 years. And we said, actually, it's much more than that. And that's how the idea for the book started. And we just started talking about it. And we were looking for, what did we do when we won? What was the common denominator? What did we do when we lost? What was the common denominator? And how did we recover? And so that's how we started putting this all together. And I got to tell you that writing a book from your mind to a pen onto a paper can sometimes be non-completely descriptive, if you know what I mean. Because you're trying to control the words. You're trying to think of what to write. Whereas when you get interviewed, you just talk. The flow is there. The authenticity is there. There's no changing words. And so that's what we did. We did in a complete interview, I think like 12 hours of interviews or maybe 8 hours of interviews, turned into a transcript. An editor made it into a book. We brought it back, read it, changed, made changes, and fixed this and that and the other. And that's how the book came out. And that's why it reads like we're talking to you, because we were literally talking to you.
Right.
Yeah. And through that, Lane and I just became, we talk every day. We don't make appointments. We just call whenever. And we've been to Peru now 3 times, I think, together. Missed last year. We just got back in March. And we're just brothers, man. And we're there for each other. When I'm down, which happens, I'm there. When he's down, I'm there. We don't have, and we operate by the law of the architect. I want to say that because that's probably this is the only partner I've ever worked with that is 100% law of the architect. Like, if I'm doing my power, he doesn't mess with it. He doesn't look to see what he's doing. His power, I don't even look. It's like I can trust him 100%. I don't even care, what, how, when, because I know he's going to accomplish it, right? And he's the same with me. You know how much freedom that is?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can count on it 100%. It's not like a business partner. He's a brother, a partner, veteran brother, whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of that's how James and I operate. That's why. Yeah. I've had a number of Ranger buddies, but not a Ranger brother like I have with James. Yeah. It's probably the nicest thing I'll ever say about him, and I'll never say it again.
Did you tell him that I was your boss? I got to remember to say that every episode.
Yeah. We got guests coming in. Thanks, Daniel. And we got Joe here talking about brothers, and so now it really is. And I think you guys form your brotherhood. Through your mission, and then creating this probably even solidified that because
it really did. It made us one,
right?
Because it's ours, right? Yeah. It's like I said, it's an operating system that we actually embrace now. But you can't really embrace your operating system until you know what it is, and most people don't know what their operating system is. Me too, brother. Amen, brother. Love you, bro. So most people, if I asked you to articulate how do you operate, what are your core principles? You'd be like, well, people got to be honest. And then, no, tell me what it is. What's your mission freaking statement? Like, what is your core? And if you know that, James and Marty, I can tell you the power that you have in life in every way of operating is, let's give you an example. So my 2-word moniker at the moment, it changes over the years, is powerful connector. So I looked at my whole life and I asked those questions and I said, what's the one thing I do more than anything is I connect people. And where's the one place I earn money more than anywhere? By connecting people. So I'm like, that's got to be my identity because that's who I am. And man, once I sort of said, yeah, I guess that's it, and I just took it, that's all I do. That's all I do. And it's like bam, 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 bam. And it's just so crazy. So once you realize what's inside of you and you can leverage it, you can implement it, you can highlight it. It's so important to know your operating system, because then how do I add those applications from the outside to make my operating system even stronger, more and more powerful, at the same time downloading the upgrades, if you know what I mean.
No, and I think you hit on something, that what it was here has evolved. And that's what you're talking about, the next evolution, transforming, progressing, growing, because what appealed to me when I was 20 was PTing my face off, being the best, strongest airborne ranger. Yeah.
Let's not go
I
there.
can fill in the gaps later,
I
Steve.
got to keep it ready to G. But, being the best airborne ranger I could be. And then, my 30s was different. And now in my 40s as a dad, my mission statement, as cheesy as it sounds, but I want to be the adult today that I want my children to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So now I have to live a life of virtues and values that they see every day, and so that is for me, that's what's really, that's a daily challenge.
Yeah.
I won't say struggle,
sure.
It's a challenge because you're doing that.
Marty, if you're conscious of your world, it's 24/7 until you're sleeping.
Yeah.
It really is. You look conscious of what's the tone, what's the, when I was working with ayahuasca a couple years ago, I'm not sure if it was Lane was there or the year before. One of my intentions, because when you work with any kind of medicine or any kind of meditation, you always have to have intentions, was to see how I come across to my wife and kids. And I was on this journey, and I saw myself. It's a long story, but I went into their body and I saw myself, kind of thing, right? Holy shit! Just my size alone is makes me daunting. My wife's here, my kids are even small, and the tone of my voice, the sort of the baritone-ish. Those two things, without me even knowing what I'm saying, was daunting. And so looking at these you got to be conscious of that. So when I talk to my kids, I get down on their level now, right? And I talk a little softer. I ask them questions. I don't ever say no, that kind of stuff. And so if you're not conscious of this stuff, you're just rolling through life and letting life happen to you. Right. Or you can dictate your own reality. You dictate your own reality by being conscious of every second. And like you said, it's a daily task, but it's a fun task. It's a great task. Why? Because every day you learn. I mean, when Lane and I talk, we argue sometimes too. It's not very long. We don't actually argue. We state our minds. And sometimes I got to swallow. We're like, okay, he means it well, even if he's mad. What's it about? And it's always like that. And he's the same with me, right? And I'm a little nutty, He's more even keeled. I'm a little nuttier. And so we have to be conscious of, okay, it's not necessarily how he's saying it. It's what he means behind it and how I'm receiving it, right? Forget the emotion. What's the connection? Why is it there? Why is it even happening? What's behind the words? What's behind the emotion? Where's that coming from? And a lot of times it comes from, when I'm mad at him, it comes from me. And when he's mad at me, it comes from him. It's not our fault. It's not about fault. It's not about who's who. It's about, let's resolve this thing and find out what it was so we could grow from that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think there's always teaching points in all of this as you figure out, again, because it's easy to divide. It's hard to build. It's hard to work together. And, it's the communication. And one of the things that used to drive people crazy, when I used to do briefings that I knew was on a contentious topic, I would say, I want you to listen to hear, but not to retort. Because if you're listening to retort, you're not truly, understanding the message. You're hearing the message, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. And
exactly.
So
that's the difference between listening and hearing. Exactly. Yeah.
And so, here I am in a room with all these people that typically outrank me. And when I'm saying that, they're like, who the heck is, but there's a reason, if you're listening to receive and not listening to retort.
But you just made the perfect example about certainty. When you're certain of what you're saying, it doesn't matter who's in front of you. They're going to buy into your certainty. It doesn't matter if they're generals and you're a lieutenant colonel, or I'm a sergeant like I was and they're generals. Yeah. I mean, I've coached generals, now, not when I was a sergeant, obviously, but now I've coached generals and they're like that. Why? Because you're certain of what you're saying. And why are you certain? Because you're crystal clear, solid about who you are, what your impact is, and that what you say is what you experience and what you actually know is your power.
Right.
That's where the impact comes from. That's where any client, any customer, anyone buys into your certainty before they buy your product. It's as simple as that. And that's how you could stand in front of those. I promise you, I wasn't even there, but I promise you, that's how you could stand in front of them and have the balls to say that, because you're certain of it and it was morally correct. Boom. Love it, brother. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be able to say it with conviction. And as long as it's not illegal, immoral, or fattening, truth is on your side. You know,
Amen.
For the fattening and part things.
Talking about honesty right there, right? I mean, you know, honesty, integrity, transparency, you know, it took us a long time to get that down into a few words. You know, honesty with yourself and why you do, say, and act like you act kind of thing, or think like you think. Transparency is how you step into the world. With that honesty, it's your ongoing reputation. Integrity is a byproduct. And people are like, well, how do you be honest with yourself? And how do you be honest with others? Honest here, honest there. No, you have to be honest with one person and the rest works itself out. When you're honest with yourself, you're always honest with everybody else. Because if you're about ready not to be honest with somebody, you got to ask yourself, is this the right thing to do? Well, to be honest with yourself, you know it's not. So don't do it. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, right? So if you're honest with yourself always first, you don't have to worry about being honest with other people because you are honesty.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point, Stephen. I mean, that was why the, Humble Alpha spoke so much to me. I was in a dark place making bad decisions. And I can look back now and say, what was I thinking? Well, I wasn't being honest with myself back then. Now I'm being honest. I say, okay, now these things are not in line with my vision and where I need to go. Then I need to remove those things from my, that are not in line with what I believe in. Right. So, Lane and I.
That's the external. What about the internal, James? I want to ask you, what about the internal, man? Because I think that'll really help someone here if you can explain how that affected your internal. Because the outside things are easy. I'll cut this out. I'll cut that out. But what about the internal? How'd that change?
Internally, for me, I hated myself. I felt like I was a failure. I left active duty too soon. I felt like I wasn't living up to my expectations. So, having great conversations with Lane and, yourself and, messaging, reaching out, it was able to pull that out, say, hey, look, this is who James really is. My struggle started back from my childhood, right? Yeah. My mother was from Korea. My father was from Louisville, Kentucky. And, there was a certain thing that, identity is very important in the Korean culture. And there's a very, your title is very important. When I was growing up, my mom said, you will be a doctor or you will be a lawyer. And I was neither of those. But, the love was there, but I still had the pressures of performing at a high level. And I put so much pressure on myself, I was actually letting myself down. And for me, it was the guilt and the separation. We could talk about this for hours, but for me, it was the separation and guilt from not being the father that I think I should have been for my two oldest daughters. So that's where my strength was. And
that's powerful, man. And it's funny you said the level, right? People talk about levels all the time. It's frequency, man. The highest level you can be on is at the highest frequency that you're capable of. And that changes always. When you meet new people, do new things, your frequency can increase. The highest frequency is the highest level you can reach. And that's where, again, going back to Marty's discussion there, when he's at a higher frequency, because he's certain, he can say whatever he wants as long as it's based on his core principles, and he's certain of it, and it's aligned with who he is. And that's why you can say it in front of generals without them dropping their jaw. They're going to be like, oh, he knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean? So titles fall completely away. Matter of fact, you're like, I have an MBA. You don't see that on LinkedIn at the end of my name. It's like, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's not a title. It doesn't, because it has no identifier with who I am. Right. It's beautiful. It's beautiful when you can walk into any aspect of life in any realm in the world, professional, private, political, whatever it is. And you're the same person with the same presence in every single space. And people are like, yeah, that's easy. Oh, really? Walk up into the White House and stand in front of them and see what your energy is like. Right? Are you the same person you are when you're with your team where you're obviously in charge because you have a title? I promise you aren't, right? Most people aren't. So it's easy to brush it off, but try it. Do it for real. And you're going to find out that once you know who you are, your identity and your purpose, it creates certainty and a presence that you own everywhere you go, period. And it doesn't mean that you own it in a bad way. It means you own it. You're connected. You're threaded. Your whole network is connected to you. You're elevating them. You're investing in relational capital in your life enterprise. You're creating space with all these people, living by HIT and doing that one thing. And the one unifier that this entire planet has, it doesn't matter where you're from, what country, age, or whatever, that one thing that everybody on this planet can unify and can agree on is we all seek one thing, and that is quality of life.
I'm not as good as Lane. I was trying. But,
Lane would say, boom.
Boom.
No, but I think, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about here. I live in DC. And so once we return back and we're going to have conferences and networking events and stuff like that, the number one question is, Stephen, what do you do for a living? And most people will lead with, like James was talking about, their title.
Yeah.
I'm CEO, I do this. But when you can start to say, like Stephen often does, I help veteran entrepreneurs do X, Y, and Z. I help do this. That's what you actually do. That's what the question was, not who do you identify yourself as?
Exactly.
And that's part of the transformation of, that mindset of getting out of that title and moving on to what you do. And the mindset even of, we talk about in the military, hunting the good stuff, finding the positive and getting out of just focusing on the negative. That's the thing I do with my daughter every day. I pick her up from school and I ask her, so what went bad today? And get mad, get over it. Let her talk about, someone didn't play with me. Something happened. I broke my favorite crayon, whatever it is. I'm not trivializing it, but I want her to talk about it, how it made her feel. I said, okay, now what happened that was awesome today? Right. And force her to hunt the good stuff and focus now and in on the positive.
Love that.
As we go forward. And it's the same thing when I put her to bed. Hey, so today we did bam, bam, bam. We're solidifying the accomplishments that she had. And then tomorrow you get to do whatever. She goes to private school. So maybe it's a dress down day. Tomorrow's a dress down day. You get to wear whatever you want because Father Bob said you could do that. So starting them at a young age to hunt the good stuff and the Father Bob, that positive growth mindset. If you can start them young, that's part of that. How do I get them to be the adult that I want them to be tomorrow by setting an example today?
Yeah. And again, teaching that operating system, right? So core principles. And, we really broke it down in the book, really broke it down. This is the first of what Lane and I have said, a total of 7 books, right? Unleash Your Humble Alpha, humblealphabook.com. You can look at the Audible. It's actually a university course now. So Forbes Business School MBA program picked it up as a full curriculum. The dean actually took the entire course and was completely blown away. We're actually putting that on the cover now because it made such a great compliment about it. University of Colorado picked it up. It's sitting at a couple of the universities right now. University of San Diego is sitting there. They wanted it for the summer semester. Let's see what happens. And that's because it was written like basically a step-by-step course on how to unleash your humble alpha, which is your own personal sort of operating system. And remember, it's not a how-to book, it's a what-to book. What to do to unleash your own personal version of your greatest.
Yeah.
And that's the trick. It's not do what I say and you're going to be great. No, it's not that at all. It isn't like follow every rule that I tell you to do and put a Stephen Kuhn and Lane Belone badge on your collar and say, I'm Stephen Kuhn and Lane Belone certified. No, we're not asking you to do that. That's not what it's about. This is your version of your operating system that we're just helping you extract to make you the best version of yourself so you can step into your presence and own it.
Right.
And honestly become an epic leader. And when we say epic leader, that doesn't mean just in business, or it means in life, every aspect of life, every spectrum.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's huge. And I think, and it comes out in the book. It comes out in the book. It comes out with just being with you guys and talking to you and listening to the Daily Purge. If you haven't listened to the Daily Purge, follow Stephen on LinkedIn and on social media, and you'll get his Daily Purge. Powerful stuff. I've taken nuggets that I teach others, because it's good stuff, and it's
awesome.
I asked Stephen, I said one time, probably about it last year, dude, how do you create all of this content? How does it come? Are you following a chart? What the heck? And he just said, no, it just comes to me, and that's what I come out with. It's because it's from the heart. Because it's from every day. So you take it, you look what happens. Like for instance, I have 3 to 5 client calls a day. I talk to Lane, I talk to you guys right now. And that just brings up the points that are important for, like when I see you react to something I say, okay, I know it's important for you. So maybe I should expand on that in the Daily Purge. Or I had a client that had an issue that I helped them fix. And their issue is common with a lot of people. I'll talk about that. Right. Or if I'm sitting here, sometimes I really don't know what to say. I'm just like, you know what, it'll come. I just put some title up there. It might not have anything to do with what I'm about to say, and just hit go live. And I just start, hey, everybody, how's it going? And like, boom, and just go in. It's just that free flow. I think I'm on episode 681 or something ridiculous. Like, yeah,
So yeah, and that's part of it too, right? I have no expectation of that live. So when we talk about HIT, we talk about living with no expectation. The only expectations you should have are those that are verbalized and agreed to. Otherwise, if you have an expectation that no one's verbalized or agreed to, you're going to be disappointed either way. So why even bother with an expectation? Live by intention. Focus on the intention, not the outcome. You can't control the outcome. You can only control the intention. That's where you allow your focus, and that's where you make it happen, right? We're not talking about hustle and grind, and we're not talking about head to the grindstone. We're not talking about that. If you do that, your head's down here. You don't see everything that's happening around you, and that's where the magic is.
Right.
Powerful. Woo.
No, I think this is awesome. I can't
Who
believe
needs an autograph book? I'm just taking notes here, so I wouldn't want to mess up a hard copy book.
we're this is a great episode. We're definitely going to have you back on. We're coming to the top of the hour.
Yeah.
We'll have, I won't say part 2, but we'll have the other author in the book, Lane Belone. This episode 9, is the one with the Humble Alpha. And we've got Lane Belone. So I'm looking at my schedule. Lane Belone coming on 21 July, episode 16. And that one's called The One with the More Humbler Alpha. So that's my
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
Public school education coming out there, y'all. Lane, I want to ask you, like we ask all of our guests, you're a combat veteran. You've served, you've sacrificed, you've given so much. So for us as service members, freedom means something different for us. And so we're going to ask you, Stephen Eugene Kuhn, what does freedom mean to you?
You know, there's personal freedom, and then there's freedom that we have an impact on, right? So I think the impact that we had on the freedom of the world, whether it happened or not, isn't even the case. It's our intention that made the difference. We wrote that check. It was our intention that we're going to fight for freedom no matter what's asked of us. And we did that. And to me, that's, I don't think there's a bigger price than anybody could pay besides actually cashing the check, if you know what I mean. So that's that part of freedom. Personal freedom means real simple to me, being where I want, with who I want, when I want, any single time, and enjoying, of course, life, no matter what the task, no matter what the activity. And that, of course, is quality of life.
Awesome. I love that answer. I love this question. This is something we came up with, and every single legend that's on the show has a different take on it. Yeah. And it's actually grown a life of its own. And I love it. And so I appreciate it. And thank you for your service, Stephen. And thank you for
your service too, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on the show, sir.
Roger that.
All right.
Wow.
Man, that was amazing. Stephen always rocking it, dropping knowledge bombs. And then, of course, you've got his battle buddy, Lane, over there in the comments, dropping all sorts of, I missed this one. How did I miss this?
I don't know. You
missed booms popping in. But so great episode. You can
very powerful.
Yeah, get your copy of Unleash Your Humble Alpha. We'll put it in the comments. We had it earlier, but we'll put it in there. Worst case, if Lane and Stephen are on there, drop it in the comments. Let us know where it's at. They can get that copy. We'll put it in there for y'all.
Yeah.
Next week, we've got Scott Davidson, GovCon. He's also creates Burbiz. There's a Burbiz this weekend in San Antonio, Texas. It's live in person. You got to get down there. If you're a veteran and you're looking for networking opportunities, get down there to Burbiz, San Antonio. You can reach it on, you can Google it and get the Evite registration. But he's going to be on the show and talk about his journey and how he created GovCon. So that's going to be awesome. And again, we want to thank our featured company this week, which is Bear Performance Nutrition, BPN. Check out their partnership with Team Red, White, and Blue. Red, White, and Blue does amazing work as well. So that's a great partnership. And I know James just ordered some supplements from BPN, so I expect to see him all swole now. So he's going to look like Steven. Without you got anything else, James?
No, just, make sure you get on, if you're on Facebook, join the Veteran Tribe. Also, join the Warrior Council. That's where it's at. I'm on Team B, Bravo Squad, Team Bravo. I got to give them a shout out. And then I need to give a shout out real quick to Arnie Allen for tuning in. I told him I'd give him a shout out, but thank you, brother. That's one of my Ranger buddies tuning in.
Awesome. Here's the here's the link for the book, humblealphabook.com. Go check it out. And if you like this content, please go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Lounge with Legends. Smash the like and subscribe button and help us get the word out about we're not the land of misfit toys. We do have, we still continue to bring value, and we can, your message, as a Annette Wittenberger and him say. So thank you for your service, James.
Thank you. Everybody.
You've been watching the Lounge with Legend show on E360 TV, countering the narrative that veterans are all broken misfit toys. Veterans are the lifeblood of American freedom. Serving in harsh situations, coupled with their training, have forged them into some of the most resilient and capable leaders in the world. And that's where we come in, celebrating the success stories, taking you on a journey of transformation from military to business. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back soon. But find us on Facebook at Lounge with Legend or at JTF214. Till next time.